What's up, Urban Hunters? Doing something a little different today. We just bought a half of a cow. Pretty easy to do here in Ohio. And this is our third or fourth time buying beef locally instead of going to the grocery store. And the differences are quite vast, and I feel like it would be a good idea to share the differences. So we're gonna break this down into 3 chapters here. First one's gonna be the weight breakdown. What kind of cuts are you looking at? What is the total weight of ground beef, or however many, whatever cuts you want to turn them into, in a quarter cow, in a half cow, in a whole cow. All of these are averages, by the way. Things can vary and whatnot. Chapter 2 is going to be price versus grocery. So we're going to break down all the cuts we have. We're going to go to a very reasonably priced grocery chain called Kroger. I'm sure many of you guys have Krogers near you. And we're going to compare them to the price of average cuts. Even though this is higher quality, we're going to compare it to the kind of average running price at Kroger, not like the highest tier stuff or just the worst stuff in the store. And finally, chapter 3 is going to be why it's better than the grocery store. How is this better quality than the grocery? Freshness, local farmers, and we're also gonna plug an app that we use, not sponsored or anything, just an app that we use every time we go to the grocery store. So let's jump right in here. Okay guys, you'll see a lot of videos like this online as well. Grocery stores, I don't want to say take advantage of you, because I don't think it's to that level yet, but there's a lot of YouTube videos out there. If you go to Costco, you buy giant chunks of meat. If you just stake it out like they do in grocery stores, you could make money theoretically doing that if you sell those to whoever, to butcher shops, whatever it is. There's a potential to make money if you spend the labor and chop up a steak into a porterhouse, or chop off porterhouses into filet mignon, New York strip, whatever the case. You can buy theoretically in bulk, and basically what I'm getting at here is it's very important for you to get familiar with the cuts of a cow. And honestly, I'm still learning some of these. Basically, the back of every animal is gonna be, anything with loin is usually gonna be a higher quality cut. I know sirloin isn't that good of a steak, but tenderloin, that's your filet mignon, anything with loin in is usually a pretty good steak. If you buy a porterhouse, it's on the bone. There's definitions for all these things. A T-bone in a porterhouse is the same steak, but as you get farther and farther, that filet mignon, that tenderloin gets a little smaller, and there's regulations of how big the filet mignon has to be on a porterhouse to call it a porterhouse versus a T-bone. So when you see that T-bone, that's a New York strip on one side and a little bit of a filet mignon on the other side. You could find deals like that. Some of these T-bones could be porterhouses depending on who's looking at them. There's Denver steaks, there's skirt steaks, there's so many little cuts on here. It's in your best interest as a customer and as a consumer to learn the differences between these, so you know what you're getting, know what's a good deal and what's not a good deal, and to kind of know your preferences as well. Like, I don't like a really fatty steak. I could eat filet mignon every single day. My wife loves ribeyes. She likes to eat a little bit of fat on there. And there's a bunch of different names depending on how butchers are cutting things. It's a little bit cultural. You'll see throughout time people used to cut steaks a little bit differently. The Denver steak, obviously, that's a good example of that. But it's in your best interest to learn these cuts. Another thing that's important, and we noticed this over the last couple cows that we bought, when you have your protein sources here, guys, I know we're kind of OCD in here with our organization. We've got our hamburger, our ground beef, got our brisket, our short rib, here's our ribeyes, here's all of our roasts. Got a little bit of overflow here. This is elk, just ignore that part. There's our sirloins, here's our New York strip, here's our filet mignons, and then we only feed our dog raw chicken every single day. So, and on top of that, we've got some of our wild game. We've got some morel mushrooms from last year that we need to eat. We've got some king salmon, coho salmon. We've got wild turkey in here. We noticed that if we have the protein here, and if you just go to the store and buy your dry goods, your pasta, your rice, your quinoa, all that good stuff, you end up spending significantly less money at the grocery store, because, if you need olive oil or whatever the case, you go to the grocery store, you're coming out of there with milk, cereal, whatever. But my point was, you go to the grocery store less, and that means that you're gonna save a lot more money because all of your protein's here, and you've got your dry goods. Maybe you just need to go to the store for fresh vegetables every week, or every other week, depending on what you're doing. And you end up saving money that way as well, but we're not gonna quantify that because that's very subjective. Okay guys, we're at Kroger here doing some shopping. We're also gonna grab all of the prices of the meat, price per pound, because that's the most important thing here at Kroger, where it's pretty average grocery store price wise, and compare that to the beef we have at home. So I'll take pictures of everything. Okay, so cheapest hamburgers they have here is That is not very good. $100.25 each. 56.2 per ounce. Most expensive being $8.26 per ounce. Regular beef in a roll is $4 a pound, $5, $6 a pound, up to $7, $8, $9 a pound. Okay. Short ribs. This is gonna be a little different because the bone is still on. Those are $9 a pound. Here are several chuck roasts. That's specifically what we have. That is $9 a pound. Pretty much looks like all these roasts are about $9 a pound. That one's $8 a pound. Let's not do T-bone because that's the weight of the bone. Oh yeah, here's a little filet mignon. $2 per ounce. And then we've conveniently got New York strip right next to it, which is just basically a T-bone or a porterhouse. T-bone, this is the New York strip. Here's the filet mignon. Okay, so this is a ribeye. Ribeye, $20 a pound. New York strip is $117 an ounce on sale. Sirloin steak, we have that as well. Sirloin steak, 89 cents an ounce. What else we got here? That ribeye's 18. Tenderloin. This is filet mignon as well, I believe. $24 a pound. Skirt steak, didn't get any of those. Sirloin steak family pack, private selection, I think. $13 a pound. Looks like choice grade to me. I mean, there's zero fat in here. Here's a bunch of T-bones. So once again, this is your New York strip. This is your filet mignon. It's got to be a certain size filet mignon, and then it turns into a porterhouse. So the small filet mignon means it's a T-bone. Big filet mignon, thick filet mignon means it's a porterhouse. $15 a pound here for those. That's a cute little Steely. Hey, cute Steely. Okay, guys, couldn't find any brisket. I will find maybe Costco, or I'll look it up online, and we'll put that on the video here. And we'll kind of average some of these qualities here, because this beef is obviously, I think it's 80-20, the ones that we have, give or take. That's what it looks like to me, maybe 75-25. And it's also not the cheapest choice grade that you can buy. So take that into consideration. Just for consistency's sake, we're gonna pretty much go with the cheapest options here, even though it's a lot higher quality meat than anything here. So keep that in mind. Back to the house. So of our 213 pounds, we got to keep the brisket. Keep in mind, when you're doing a quarter cow, you know, of your filet mignon backstrap piece, if you get a quarter of a cow, you're only getting a quarter of that filet mignon. Same thing with the brisket. You might just get a quarter of the brisket. That's why it's kind of better to buy, if you can do it with your whole family, buy a whole cow or a half a cow, and you know, you'll keep a half a brisket is a lot better to cook than a quarter of a brisket, but that's just our opinion. Anyway, so our quarter of beef was 116 pounds at our house. We paid $750 out the door, tax, processing, everything. This 116 pounds made it to our house for $750. I think it was $749 and change. If we'd buy the same cuts at Kroger, keep in mind it's a lot worse quality. They're choice grade, they're select, there's no fat in these, it's not very good quality, not as fresh. It would be $1,074.68. It's a little over 40% more. So you're paying 40% more. Sure, you get to buy smaller quantities, but that works to your detriment, in my opinion. You're paying 40% more at Kroger for less fresh, lower quality meat. So that's already a huge win right there, and we haven't even got to the good part yet. So with that, I know it's a lot of numbers, but that's the important stuff. Grocery stores are tricky. They'll list stuff by the ounce instead of by the pound to make it harder to do the math on. But I think that will wrap it up. All that matters, doesn't matter how many packs we got, all it matters is the price per pound comparing one to the other. And it's going to be a little bit off. I apologize because I don't know the weight of the plastic in here. So all of that weight of the plastic might be a couple pounds. That's negligible. And this is where I also want to plug our app that we use. We use this app called Yucca because there's food lobbyists do so much out there. You can't trust anything. It's actually good quality. Every single person going grocery shopping should have the Yucca app on their phone. It's free. Spend a day, scan in everything, works really, really good. It'll tell you if there's harmful additives, harmful chemicals, too much saturated fat, too much sodium. And if you don't believe any of it, you just click the additive and it'll show you all of the studies that have been done. Is it illegal in Europe? Should it be illegal here? Will it be illegal here soon? You can read these studies yourselves if you don't believe it and show why this causes cancer, this causes ADHD, cardiovascular disease, whatever the case. You'll be surprised. Most of the big names out there, maybe not surprised, most of the big names out there are actually really, really terrible for you. And probably in 30 years, when the next generation or two comes along, we're going to be looking back like, wow, I cannot believe we were eating all of this terrible food that's not even considered food in some places. It's all just filler. It's all just cheap filler. Yeah, it'll give you recommendations of different foods. It's not sponsored. It seems to me, like I said, this is no one contacted me from Yucca. This is just me as a user of this app for the last 2 years or so. We don't really shop at Kroger anymore because of this. There's a lot of stuff out there that's really bad and you wouldn't expect it. We bought some El Paso taco shells. I used to love that meal, and there's so many carcinogens in there that I just couldn't subject myself, and it felt terrible that I was subjecting my family, who I'm supposed to care for, to these harmful chemicals and additives. So trust me, download the app, go scanning around everything, and at least know what you're eating. If it's bad for you and you love it, at least you know that it's bad for you and you don't think it might be healthy. Okay guys, processing is going to be a repeat topic here. I've noticed I've bought all of my beef from different farmers each time. Like I said, you can shop around, get the best deal out there as much as you want. I'm sure it'll all be pretty good. Most of these guys are not making a ton of money. It always seems like when I go pick the meat up, it's like way less. You're like, oh my gosh, this cow was 1,500 pounds or whatever. Was it grain fed? Was it grass fed? Was it American Wagyu? I've tried all this stuff, and we kind of prefer the grass fed personally, but we'll do grain fed, grain finished, whatever. There's a bunch of different options. Like I said, get out there, taste test this stuff, see what your guys' opinion is. We love the beefy flavor, and the grass fed tastes better to us personally. But this cow was grain fed as well. The farther you go out from direct contact with these guys, if you buy from Kroger, this beef might come from anywhere in the United States or maybe outside of the United States. You don't really know how fresh it is. It looks a lot different. Here you have the pink goo, the pink paste that people refer to. You can't really see any fat marbled in there. There's gases in here. You're gonna notice there's a lot of moisture in the bag. This is because moisture is added weight, and you end up paying $7 a pound for water. That's obviously a lot cheaper than the muscle, so Kroger wants to give you as much water, as much bone, as much tissue, filler, anything is possible that they can legally get in there. All that stuff is cheaper than the muscle fibers that is actually the nutrition that we're looking for. Compared to fresh beef here, you're gonna see there's little bits of fat in there. It's nice and red. It just looks a lot less processed than this. The farther that you go away from direct contact with the farmer, you lose that farmer local relationship. Every beef farmer that I've met loves their cows. The guy that I bought this stuff off of, his cows always have an option. They've always got hay in the field or fresh grown grass in the field, and grain if they so choose that they want that at the time. With a lot of these giant corporate farms that Kroger or whoever Walmart is buying this beef from, you lose that love for the animals and the well-being for these animals. You can look this up online. You can go on Reddit. You can ask ChatGPT, do whatever you want. I'm not going to speak to Kroger specifically because I don't want to disparage any company specifically. I think a lot of these guys are all doing this at the same time, but we're just going to go over some generalities because a lot of you guys might not have Krogers around you. It's very common for beef to have additives and preservatives in them because they have to travel far distances. Obviously, the local beef is not going to have any of that. You could have artificial preservatives, dyes, chemical enhancements. All this stuff is happening at most grocery stores. Obviously, smaller places are going to be better. It's very common for groceries to put carbon monoxide into the packaging because when beef turns brown, it actually isn't bad. That just means it's oxidizing a little bit, which is perfectly healthy. It's perfectly fine, but it's less pretty to look at, and people associate that with rotten meat. Not exactly true. So grocery chains will often put these gases in the packaging to preserve the meat a little longer to make it look fresher than it actually is. A lot of small scale farmers aren't going to be be giving antibiotics and growth hormones to their cows like these commercial farms are doing, which is obviously a huge plus. A lot of this stuff is probably going to be illegal in the next 20 or so years. I went to school at The Ohio State University for business, but specifically agricultural business. So a lot of this stuff I did learn in school. So your grass-fed beef is going to have more omega-3 fatty acids, higher levels of CLA, conjugated linoleic acid, I think it's pronounced, which is to reduce inflammation. And there's going to be more vitamins and antioxidants, especially vitamin E, that's going to be in these grass-fed cows. That's going to be a little bit better for you. Like I said earlier, the pink slime, the overprocessed meat. Some grocery stores, ground beef contain lean, finely textured beef, LFTB, known as the pink slime, which is treated with ammonia to kill bacteria. Obviously not good for you. When you buy for a farmer, you know exactly what's in your meat. You can ask him. Most importantly, this is a huge point, guys. When you're at the grocery store, you could be buying, it's all just one lump sum. You could be buying a pound of beef and there's 3 different animals worth of mixed in there. If you buy it from the farmer himself, you know you're going to get the meat from that one animal. We talked about this earlier. It's fresher and less processed. Grocery store beef can be weeks old due to transportation and storage, where local beef is typically processed and delivered fresh, retaining more nutrients and more flavor. 6th point here, ethical and sustainable farming practices. Small farms tend to prioritize better animal welfare and more sustainable farming methods compared to large-scale feedlots. It's a lot more humane having these cows walking around free range versus stuck in a muddy field where they're just fed food because there's just too many animals per acre. Locally raised cattle often have less stress and more space and a better diet. Stress can impact meat flavor and meat quality. Finally here, you're going to support your local businesses, which is extremely important. Support your local economy. Buying local beef supports family farms and local agriculture rather than large corporations. You can also often visit the farms to see how the cattle are raised, to see if they're up to your standards. And you can ask the farmer directly questions about the farming practices. Whereas if you go to Kroger, you can say, hey, is this from one cow? Where's this beef from? Is it from Argentina? How fresh is it? Obviously the person at Kroger is gonna have no idea about any of this. And kind of the final thought here for that is that while not all grocery beef is unhealthy, like I said, there's smaller grocers that are not chains. There's different standards to every business out there, not just groceries in any business. Buying from a local farmer gives you more control, transparency, and access to healthier and higher quality meat. And that's gonna wrap up the video today, guys. Like I said, I am educated in this field. I do have some experience in it. I've done the process. I bought it from grocery stores, bought it from Costco. In my opinion, if you're gonna go to a grocery chain, go to Costco. They've usually got higher quality meat there. Don't buy the cheapest stuff out there. It's not in your best interest. Red meat is good for you. At the end of the day, we have canines. We're meant to eat meat. Some people more than others. If that's what you love, go to the doctor, check your levels, check your cholesterol, balance it out with healthy cholesterol. Still learning about this. It's a lifelong journey, but if I've missed anything that you guys would like to talk about, or you have any experience of your own, please put it in the comment section. I read every single comment. But thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.